we're going to move things fast. While they're coming up, the next topic or subject is we're looking for some major issues in tax reform, the need, objectives, process, and current status. Delegate Eric Nelson's co-chair of the Joint Select Committee on Tax Reform. On the panelists is Eric Householder, Joint Select Committee on Tax Reform, and Michael Carl, Esquire, former West Virginia Tax Commissioner. So they'll come up here and get ready. While they're doing that, I'd like to recognize a couple of people. We have Bridget Lambert, President of the West Virginia Retail Association. To make her feel welcome, please. We have Ruth Lemon, West Virginia Auto Association. Make her feel welcome as well. The other thing, this meeting cannot be put together without some very hard work for some individuals and the committee from the EPBA. I'd like to recognize some of the members. We got Mike Ashley. Stand up, please. We'll thank them all at the end. Karen Bailey. We got Kristen Engelkey, who did a tremendous amount of work. Thank her very much. We also have Matt Harvey. By the way, it's his birthday, so everybody give him a big birthday. Happy birthday. He's finally legal. See who else we have on the committee. Of course, Jim Rowland did such a great job. Anyone else I missed on the committee? Drawn a blank here. Oh, Daryl Straw. Where's he at? Daryl Straw. He did a very good job. So thank him when you see him. We also have in our attendance today, we have Supreme Court Justice Brent Benjamin. Brent, where are you? Judge? Right here. Thank you, Joe. Welcome as well. So, to start off the first panel session, we have Delegate Eric Nelson come forward and start it off, and then you do your thing. By the way, we're going to keep this on time. You got 20 minutes max. Okay? All right, thanks.
Oh, thank you very much, Gary. My name's Eric Nelson. I happen to represent the 35th District of Kanawha County. I was elected in 2010, along with the other Eric. We have good times. Eric or the EP Eric and then the Central Eric myself. But as Tim mentioned, I was fortunate enough to be appointed by him to chair the Finance Committee in the House this past time. And you know, it starts with teamwork. And I think one common message that you heard from both the Speaker and the President is how well we work together as a team. And part of that, Eric Householder was on the Finance Committee with me. Very much welcomed him, and then myself and matter of fact, my co-chair, the co-chair of this tax reform committee, Mike Hall, who's on the Senate finance side. We work together on a weekly basis. But anyway, the purpose, I'd like to get up and just give you a broad overview of what is going on with the committee that is called tax reform. And I do want to reach out to Vic. Thank you all for hosting this. Jim, thank you, and the EPBA for hosting this. And obviously, our host facility here, Penn National, and Al, thank you very much. In a way of background, the Speaker and the President formed this committee right at the end of session. The committee is made up of 7 members of each chamber, and it's geographically dispersed. And we do have the representation here of Delegate Householder of the Eastern Panhandle, and that's very critical as we look at this. Our broad goal, if you will, was to look at our overall tax situation. As we step back, there have been 2 recent tax studies done in the last 15 years. In '99, and both of these were executive-led. This is the first legislative-led tax reform or tax review. But in '99, Governor Underwood undertook a review. And in '06, Governor Manchin undertook a review. And here we are 10 years later, and I tell you, this economy has changed tremendously. So it's time, again, to look at this once again. But I think one of our biggest goals is to make sure that we don't wait 10 years in between these. We need to truly look at our tax structure on an annual basis because our economy is moving. At the basis of what our goal is to make a fair and efficient system, one that is simple, one that helps promote economic growth, And then, of course, we must have a tax system that basically funds our government services, roads, education, and the other services that we come to expect from the government. To date, we've had 4 meetings. Our first meeting reviewed the last 2 studies we did in 99 and 06. That was followed up by some national folks coming in and giving us a little broad overview of how West Virginia stacks up to not only our other local states, our sister or contiguous states, but also some of the states that have enacted tax change in the last 5 years. North Carolina is a positive example, I think, of many things that have gone on. We meet again on Monday. And our next 2 meetings are focused on income tax, both personal and corporate, and then that'll be followed by the sales tax. Those 2 items make up 75% of our $4 billion general revenue budget. In May, we had 2 sessions on property tax. Property taxes in this state are about $1.8 billion total. In total, West Virginians pay about $8 billion of the $12 billion that we operate on an annual basis. We do not have a set agenda as it relates to we will complete something at a certain time, nor do we have a set agenda that any one particular item will definitely be focused on. But I can commit that we are looking at everything. There'll be some action on the table. We're meeting twice a month. And then at the end of October, we do have a public forum that will be scheduled so that we can listen again to all the public. I've been asked why we aren't traveling around the state. And given the makeup of our 14 members, it's quite difficult. So as much as we would love to have various meetings across the state, we have done our best to make this as transparent as possible. We have a legislative website. Every piece of information that the chairs and the committee members get is posted on that website right away. We stream every one of our meetings, and we welcome input from any and all as it relates to items that we ought to address. I'll be happy to take some questions later, but I'll lead right into Delegate Householder.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out here today. I'm Delegate Eric Householder, and I represent the 64th Delegate District. And I want to let you know that I'm very honored to represent and serve you in Charleston. And I want to throw out a big kudos to our Speaker, Tim Armstead. It's an honor to serve under his leadership, and I greatly admire his leadership skills and what he's doing to move West Virginia forward. And to my esteemed colleague, the Chair of Finance, Eric Nelson, I enjoy working with Eric Nelson too, just as much. Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to address an issue that is very important to all of you. As you are aware, we are studying tax reform in West Virginia. So today, I want to talk about why tax reform is necessary and important to small business owners and West Virginia working families. Now, small businesses are a major source of economic growth and job creation in West Virginia. But small businesses are still struggling to recover from the recession. Our unemployment rate in June was 7.4%. And we are the only state in the nation that has the distinction where less than half of our adult civilians have a job. Now keep in mind, taxes change people's behavior, and it also influences the economy by preventing small businesses and families from consuming, saving, and investing as much as they would like. Now this in turn affects economic growth and the future income of those who are the producers and the consumers in our economy. Now, what are the guiding principles for sound tax policy? Now, I believe everyone in the room today would agree on these 3 principles: simplicity, efficiency, and fairness. Now, simplicity, a simpler structure that promotes more government transparency, lower compliance costs, and a system that reduces evasion. Now let's take a look at our tax code to see how it has evolved over the years. Now the tax code in 1991, 1 volume, 900 pages. So from June 20th, 1863, from our inception date up until December 31st, 1991, 128 years, we had 1 volume, 900 pages. The tax code today, 2 volumes, over 1,600 pages. So we've added 700 pages in less than 23 years. So my question to you is this a simpler structure or is it more convoluted? Second guiding principle, efficiency. Now keep in mind that taxes distort the way people behave. Our general goal as legislators is to minimize these distortions. One example of efficiency is having a broad-based tax reform policy with low tax rates and removing loopholes and tax credits as well. The third one, fairness. Treat people in a similar fashion. Today, there are over 60 exemptions offered with the West Virginia consumer sales tax. And the state has over 34 tax credits that are available to certain industries. Now, these are examples where our state government continues to pick winners and losers by not treating all taxpayers equally. So the goal should be a simple, broad-based tax system with fewer taxes and limited preferences. So in conclusion, I do believe that West Virginia is primed to jumpstart its economy by implementing broad-based tax reform so our citizens can enjoy more economic prosperity. And I welcome your ideas on tax reform policies. And it is my belief that the transition to a lower tax burden won't be easy, but it must be done in order to reverse the economic stagnation that we've had in West Virginia. Now, the tax and spend days of the past have grown government at the expense of jobs and prosperity. The past has been defined by growing government in West Virginia. The future must be defined by putting taxpayers first. Thank you.
I'm Mike Carl, and I wanted to, first of all, thank Chairman Nelson, Delegate Householder, the entire committee. I've attended every one of the meetings of the committee up to now, and I can tell you that they are approaching their task with complete open mind, no preset agenda about where they want to end up, and they've been doing a very thorough job, partly because they're serious people and they recognize the importance of what they're about. The process inherently, and they've heard from already, and they'll hear from, continue to hear from both in the meetings and in the hallways. They'll hear from people who think that tax reform is just tax relief, just lower the rates a little bit, as opposed to other people who want to attack the convoluted, unfair, completely picking winners type of system that we have, and the Delegate Householder referred to the growth and the move completely away from simplicity in the last several years. On the other hand, both groups of reformers are going to run into people, what I call the tax expenditure community. And this is not just government employees and those people who like big government, it's people who benefit from government. It includes private contractors, anyone who does business. They're going to restrain the reduction of the base. So many of us have counseled approach it on a revenue neutral basis, get a decent structure, a simple, fair, balanced structure, and then leave the political decision of the level of spending to be accomplished through a far better system. That's an approach that many of us advocate. You're always going to run into the question, anytime you're talking about tax reform, how are you going to pay for that if you're going to eliminate this exemption or something? And then the other people, you're always going to hear what other states do. So that's all part of it. We've already heard that and we'll continue to hear that. But as open-minded and objective as the members of the committee are, I don't have to be. So I'm going to give you a couple little ideas that I suspect we're going to hear plenty about that they couldn't necessarily embrace or even maybe even mention. But the big one, which has been for years and years to business, has been a relief from the personal property tax on tangible personal property, business equipment, inventory, and machinery. You're going to hear a lot about that. How to pay for that is obviously a major challenge, and no responsible leader is going to call for that without offering a good way to replace those revenues. I think we're going to hear about extending homestead relief for senior citizens. That's not something I'm real keen on, for the simple reason that West Virginia has the lowest tax rates on owner-occupied residents in America. If you means tested, maybe okay, but there are plenty who think that's important. Money from this area that's seen the value of houses go up and the taxes, even at the low rates, go up, and that's something that's going to come up. The coal industry is hurting terribly from regulation, from adverse market conditions, and they still pay the highest severance taxes in America, and we're certainly going to hear that something needs to be done there. A broader approach will be to take a look at the sales tax exemptions. West Virginia has broadly taxed services from the inception of its sales tax far more than virtually any other state, yet the exemptions from our sales tax have went from 20-some when I first went to Charleston to probably approaching 100 now. And that's all because we're moving to a service economy. There's more and more service activity, and the exemptions, the value of the exemptions, even if you don't tax, if you keep the ones for business inputs, direct use and manufacturing, that type of thing, outweigh, are worth more than the base of the whole tax right now. So there's some room to work there, including possible tax on professional services, and I'm not afraid of that. We're not going to, nobody to talk about doing healthcare services, because that's third-party pay, and that would be a mess. But that could be part of a comprehensive reform. There's so much potential replacement revenue there that we could even start talking about eliminating or greatly reducing the income taxes. Finally, as President Cole mentioned, as a general policy initiative, I think the tax reform initiative will also be part of devolving power, both tax revenue raising power and expenditure responsibility to county and municipal government. So those are some of the things that will be, I suspect the committee's going to hear about in the days to come, and I'm very confident that with their objective approach that the right answers